I think this is inevitable, right? I mean, you have 32 different teams in the NFL. They're not all on the same page. You know, you can have, it's like federal and state, right? Like the NFL can make rules if it wants to, not invite them to the draft, but you got to get all 32 teams on board in order to have a unified front. They don't have that. I think the other question with that is, like, when can you say somebody gets a second chance? Like, when are we comfortable with that? And I'm not saying that it has to be in the first round of the NFL draft. I mean, I'm not even saying that it has to be, you know, as a professional player. But I think this is now the next question that we have to wrestle with when we talk about discipline, when we see players do extremely bad things. What happens after that? And what are they doing after that? And I think that's where we're going.
And I think that's how actually he was done wrong by Oklahoma, because by hiding him, we don't learn anything about him. We don't learn whether he's changed. We don't learn whether he cares about what he did. And so it happens that we have this huge gap before we really hear from him for the first time. And then he's able to say it was so long ago, but we haven't processed it. We didn't see the tape until just now. We haven't had these conversations until just now. I think transparency above everything is the key to second chances. And once we feel like, all right, the lessons have been learned and the choices that are going to be made going forward are going to reflect that you did learn something, then I think where most of us are going to be open to saying, he was a kid and he did a very bad thing. Should that affect the rest of his life? Yeah, I think we need that transparency to decide that, not just to say enough time has passed. That's like saying, you know, let's float out Art Briles' name for a job. Don't give him this one, but the next time it gets floated out, we've already had the outrage. Well, that's what's happening right here.
Well, that's the problem kind of with this overall, is that there is no, what is the timetable? Like, it's all, we've talked about this before. What's the number of games that if a player commits domestic violence? There is no sort of secret potion there where you can come up with a solution that fits everybody. I guess it just depends on what you think the NFL's responsibility is. And look, this is part of the reason why, in some ways, as backward and as archaic as they used to be before they instituted a lot of these domestic violence, you know, policies and tried to get smarter about the issue, I almost wish it was like it was before, because at least it was bad, but it was consistently bad, right? There was no, I mean, there was
a dicey wish.
No, but it was consistently bad, and you knew what they were in it for. What does bother me is that I feel like it's insulting my intelligence to some degree.
Right.
We hear coach after coach, you know, different GMs, owners saying domestic violence, no tolerance. Well, you do have some tolerance.
Right, they're tolerating it.
I mean, or you do have some tolerance for women being hit, because you have them on your team.
Case, we've got Vance Joseph, who I don't know if you guys remember in 2004 Colorado.
He's had his own issues.
Yeah, and so it's like, do I think Joe Mixon deserves a second chance? Yes. Do I think it's tough to stomach Vance Joseph telling me that Joe Mixon seems like a nice guy in a situation where Joe Mixon has a couple $1 million on the line to act like a nice guy for an hour?
Right.
Yeah, that's tough to stomach. That doesn't change the fact that I think Joe Mixon deserves a chance to play football.
Right.
But what you're talking about, like this double standard in the NFL, like we have to listen to that. On the other hand, the NFL saying that they're doing all of this good work.
We know what you're in it for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
It's a bit of a charade now in some ways.
Well, not inviting him to the combine is exactly that.
Well, that's
like,
the
it's
issue.
like I said, it's basically like not making a guy take the finals, but he still graduates. The point isn't to take the finals. The point is to graduate. You're still going to get to NFL. You didn't even want to go to the Underwear Olympics in the first place, so now you get to skip those and still get picked.
But you know what? I was okay with that. He didn't have to go to the party. All right, so you're making whatever. Maybe it's, you know, just for show, but the NFL at least made a statement and said, you know what? We're saying this is not happening.
He's still employable.
Right.
And ultimately,
then they just showed up at his home school to do his workouts, which is even
or
easier.
had him in for a visit.
Right.
We're talking about a second chance. He actually got the second chance from Oklahoma. So far, has made the most of it. We're really talking about what he seems to have to determine, and what they care about is not what you did, but who you are, and whether or not what you did is a precursor to what you may do on their watch. Correct. So they don't care that you hit a woman in your past. Just don't do it after we draft you. Don't embarrass us. Don't make us look bad for betting on you, especially the better you can play.
Right.
Yeah.
And it matters whether we think that there's any part of us that's saying that we care more about the NFL because now we know he'll get really rich for it, right? Granted, we needed to see the video to really know, but a lot of people were saying it's okay, he got a second chance. Now we're making him go through the whole thing all over again for the NFL, maybe in part because we're like, do you deserve to be making millions of dollars and held up in front of people as some sort of idol?
Yeah, well, in many ways, deserves got nothing to do with it. It's what the market
Can you play?
Can you play? And the market has dictated he gets a second chance.
And to me,
so
it's what has he done? Like, what has he learned about this? And what is the league learning?
Right.
Okay, because it can't just be all window dressing.
Right.
There has to be something happening that's different, so that if there is accountability when things like this happen, when he's a member of the league, that it's not just this kind of like, we're all going to pretend everything's going to be great. No, it's like, how are you helping him get into the league and to succeed, not just on the field but off.
And that's why the combine. We got to go. That's why the combine was problematic. So more coaches could have that opportunity to sit down, talk to him. It doesn't erase what he did, but I know Vance Joseph has his past, Kate, but I'm okay with somebody saying, you know what, I was impressed by him. Again, that doesn't mean that he didn't do an awful thing, but because he did an awful thing doesn't necessarily mean that he's susceptible to doing it again and again and again. So.